Imagine you are the biggest Ferrari fan on earth. You think Michael Schumacher is the greatest F1 driver to ever exist. You work in a local photocopy store in Surrey, and it's just an average day. But then someone new walks in. They don't look familiar, and there's nothing strange about them. But then they ask you to make a copy of 780 pages. You take the time to look at the pages during your break, but you notice something unfamiliar. You notice there's a Ferrari logo in the bottom corner of every single page. How would someone have official Ferrari documents? And that's a good question. You get suspicious. Furthermore, you Google Trudy Coughlan. Who is this? Not really anyone famous, but then you dig deeper. You find out there's a Michael Coughlan, the chief designer of the McLaren Formula 1 team. That's when the alarm bell starts to ring in your head. What else is based in Surrey County? That's right, the McLaren headquarters. Why would the McLaren chief designer's wife have such documents? As a loyal Ferrari fan, you do the only thing you can think of, and that is to email Stefano Domenicali. Despite being confused with what you've just seen, you have no reason to think it's a lie, but then Domenicali ends up taking things further. What you have just seen is a true account of how F1's biggest scandal got exposed. Thanks to how one loyal, enthusiastic Ferrari fan was paying attention, this is the story of Spygate. Before we delve further into this video and into the story, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you've heard of the Spygate story before, and on with the video. The story starts all the way back in the 1990s, where a British man called Nigel Stepney was in charge of all the mechanics at Ferrari. Furthermore, Stepney played a key part in Ferrari's comeback story. You'll find his name on a list of legends, such as Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn was at the heart of Ferrari back then. Everyone knew Brawn had a clear vision ahead of him to get Ferrari back to the top. He was never going to fail. Stepney was Brawn's right-hand man. Between 1999 and 2006, Ferrari were dominant. Schumacher picked up 5 world championships just between 2000 and 2004, whilst Ferrari also won multiple Constructors Championships. But all good things came to an end.
The race I'm going to do at the end of this year, I've decided together with the team that I'm going to retire from racing.
Schumacher announced this retirement in 2006, whilst Ross Brawn also announced he was going to take a sabbatical. Stepney's situation started to tighten around him. He no longer had his dream team. Just like that, after the final race of the 2006 season, they were gone. What comes next is one of the key factors in the Spygate story. Stepney thought he had a chance at the role of technical director. However, he didn't have the qualifications, and that role was given to Mario Amando. Stepney was furious about this, and he didn't really have a right to be. Stepney was just a mechanic and he didn't have a degree. Even if Ferrari wanted to put Stepney in the role of technical director, they couldn't because it would have been too risky, just because he didn't have a degree. Stepney just couldn't get his head around it, and he never truly accepted why he didn't get that role. And because of this, it motivates the actions Stepney was about to take. In February of 2007, Stepney gave an interview with Autosport. "I'm not currently happy within the team. I want to move forward in my career, and that's not happening right now. If an opportunity arose with another team, I would definitely consider it. We all know how brutal Ferrari can be about people who speak out against them." Stepney was practically offering himself to other teams, and looking back, it's strange Ferrari didn't fire him there and then. Instead, Ferrari decided to take Stepney away from travelling to the races and have him working back at the factory in Maranello. Stepney's motivation had completely disappeared because of this. The story continues in May 2007. We are only 4 races into the season and just a week before the Monaco Grand Prix. One of Ferrari's mechanics found a white powder by one of their cars. The police were called straight away, as Ferrari were obviously going to be protective over their car and the safety of their team. Stepney was found with the powder in his pockets. The same suspicious powder that was found by the side of the Ferrari car and inside the fuel tank. The timeline here is key. The Monaco Grand Prix was on the 27th of May. The F1 circus then went to the Canadian Grand Prix on the 10th of June. From the Friday prior to the Monaco Grand Prix all the way to the week of the United States Grand Prix on the 17th of June, Ferrari had gathered enough evidence to file a complaint against Stepney. Whilst the team were racing out in Indianapolis, the DA in Italy had started a criminal investigation against Nigel Stepney. After a long and painful 2 weeks, the investigations came to a conclusion. Nigel Stepney was fired by Ferrari on the 3rd of July 2007, just a few days after the French Grand Prix. Ferrari then announced they were going to open another investigation, as they had reason to believe someone else was involved in the sabotage of their team with the theft of technical information. I'll remember Michael Coughlan and his wife at the start of the video. This technical information was the same information the wife gave that employee in Surrey. Autosport then later announced in an article that it was Coughlan that Ferrari were investigating, alongside Nigel Stepney, of course. Ferrari then released a further statement, quoting, "Legal action has been instigated in England and a search warrant has been issued concerning the engineer." Now, this is just confirmation that Coughlan definitely had documents that had been taken straight from the Maranello factory. For those who don't watch F1, this is as bad as Erling Haaland going to the Manchester United manager and giving him all of Manchester City's tactics and plans ahead of an upcoming derby. However, Ferrari still didn't know how Coughlan was going to get these documents. They did have Nigel Stepney, who was caught with suspicious white powder in his pants and the fuel tank. Something was suspicious. A week after Ferrari announced they were going to be going after Michael Coughlan, High Court hearing was initiated. The courts gave the McLaren chief designer just a day to give a statement, describing what he knew and his side of the story. This is where the story starts to come together. The same day the court asked for a statement, Stefano Domenicali received that email from the employee of the photocopy store that Coughlan's wife had visited to copy all of the documents from Maranello onto a disk drive. Ferrari now could connect the technical information that had left Maranello directly to Coughlan. The situation got worse. Further, another search warrant was initiated. Both parties came to the agreement that Coughlan and his wife were to fully cooperate within the investigation no matter what, and in exchange Ferrari would drop the High Court case and handle it internally. This did not mean the Coughlans were in the clear just yet. McLaren also started their own internal investigation and revealed that the information that Coughlan had been given did not get to anyone else within the McLaren factory, not even Ron Dennis, who at the time was the big boss at McLaren. On July 26th, McLaren was brought to the World Motorsport Council to give details about the design of their 2007 car and to answer to the charges. McLaren were open about the design of the car throughout the whole process. They provided blueprints to show they could prove the information that was given to them unknowingly by Ferrari had absolutely nothing to do with the design of the car, which, if it was, would be McLaren breaking the #1 rule in Formula 1, and that is, you design your own car. The only thing you can have that's same to another car is an engine, and that is it. Later, the FIA could not decide if any of the data collected by McLaren was used on their 2007 car, and they decided not to punish the team. For now anyway. Ferrari were absolutely fuming about this. But then, on the 1st of August, Ron Dennis reached out to the Italian Motorsport Authority that he believed Ferrari had cheated to win the opening race of the 2007 season in Australia. The source of where Dennis got this from was no other than Nigel Stepney. Now the story's about to get even deeper. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, and one of the most controversial parts of the 2007 season was about to unfold during qualifying. It was the final qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton followed behind Fernando Alonso into the pit lane after both drivers had their first run, so they could change onto newer tyres. Hamilton was sat behind Alonso in the pit box, and as they were teammates, only one of them could have their tyres changed at a time. McLaren gave the all clear for Alonso to go back out on track, but he didn't. Fernando stayed in his pit box, holding Hamilton back. The clock was running down. Remember that after time is up in qualifying, you cannot set another lap. Alonso stayed in his pit box for 10 seconds more than he needed to, and eventually went out. By the time both drivers changed tyres and went back around the track to set one more lap, only Alonso was able to complete the final qualifying lap. Hamilton did not cross the line in time, and Alonso took pole position. For Alonso to do this, it was clear he wasn't happy about something. Alonso was later punished for this and lost pole position. McLaren were also deducted 1 point. However, all this led up to what was about to happen on the morning of the race. Alonso was heard threatening Ron Dennis with the fact he would tell the FIA that he and Ron Dennis had had conversations with Coughlan about the design of the McLaren car and how he had information from Ferrari, meaning that the 2007 McLaren car was in fact inspired from the Ferrari from the same season, meaning McLaren did break the golden rule of F1. Now, as a listener, you should start to get the idea that McLaren had been lying the whole time. They said that they did not know Coughlan had the information, and the only people who had the information was Coughlan and Stepney, and anyone else involved in the court order. Ron Dennis panicked. He found himself in possibly one of the most challenging situations he would ever go through as McLaren team principal. He went to Max Mosley, the president of the FIA at the time, and said, "Look, I had a conversation with Alonso. He claimed he's going to send this information out. Dennis may have said this for damage control. However, it turned out just to be a huge mistake. Max Mosley was now aware of what was going on, and he started to have his suspicions about McLaren. Just 1 month later, on the 5th of September, right before the Italian Grand Prix, Ferrari's home race, more evidence had been discovered. It appeared that there were digital conversations between Coughlan, Pedro Della Rosa, the McLaren test driver at the time, and obviously Fernando Alonso. The Formula 1 CEO, Bernie Ecclestone, then sent this new evidence to the FIA, and the investigation was reopened on September the 13th. This time, the investigation was completely different. The FIA had all evidence needed to discover McLaren's secrets. They found that there had been 288 texts directly between Coughlan and Stepney, 35 phone calls. Also, they found emails directly from the McLaren drivers. However, the main information that caught McLaren out was this email between Pedro Della Rosa and Fernando Alonso. Della Rosa said, "All the information from Ferrari is reliable. It comes from Nigel Stepney, the former chief mechanic. I don't know what post he holds now. He's the same person who told us in Australia that Kimi Raikkonen was going to stop on lap 18. He's very friendly with Michael Coughlan, our chief designer, and told him that." With one email, Della Rosa exposed the entire lie. It proved this was more than just Stepney and Coughlan exchanging information. It proved McLaren had intent to use the information that was given to them to their advantage, and if they were to be caught, they would lie about it. Even though McLaren knew they would be breaking F1's major rule, a few weeks had passed, and the FIA had concluded. McLaren were handed out a $100 million fine. Yes, you heard that right, $100 million, which is still the largest fine any F1 team has ever received, and one of the largest fines in sporting history. To add on top of this, McLaren were completely disqualified from the 2007 Constructors Championship. However, this is interesting. Both Hamilton and Alonso escaped without any punishment. What's worth noting is Max Mosley gave all the McLaren drivers the final chance to come forward, and if they were to do so, they would be exempt from any punishment. Alonso did not show up to the hearing on the day of the prosecution. Many people still criticise Alonso for being part of the sabotage and trying to blackmail his own team. The story concludes in the final race of the 2007 championship. It went down to the wire between Hamilton, Alonso and Ferrari's Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi was third in the standings going into that weekend, and needed Hamilton and Alonso to have a terrible weekend. Lewis was leading the championship going into the race, however he could only bring home 2 points. Alonso got a podium, but it wasn't enough, and Raikkonen won the race, therefore the championship as well, so karma found its way. At the end of 2007, Martin Whitmarsh released a statement, basically admitting to everyone that McLaren knew all about it all along, and they had been lying. On the 2nd of May 2014, Stepney unfortunately took his own life after walking in front of a car on the M20 motorway, giving a sad end to this story. Thank you so much to everyone who's got this far into the video, because a lot of work has gone into it and it is really appreciated. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Comment below what you think about Spygate. Also, let me know what you think about this storytelling content. If you want to see why 2025 is going to be one of the closest F1 seasons ever, click on this video here, and I will see you all in the next one.